Hello and welcome to this segment. Welcome to the channel as well. If you don't know, my name's Luke. I like to go up and down to rugby grounds up and down the country, just to see what they're about. And yeah, that's it really. I like to see the atmospheres and what the clubs are about, get a little bit more about the history. But unfortunately, yesterday I wasn't able to travel due to one of my coaches being cancelled. So I had to stay at home, but thankfully there was a lot of rugby on. So I just thought I'll start making a video, maybe once every couple of days, about the topics around rugby, what's happening. Maybe there's probably an incident or an update somewhere, a very important one, and I'll just make a little video on it. But from Saturday's fixtures, I thought I'd just, you know what, go on, make a little video. We'll see what happens. So yeah, here we go. So I want to start with Wales and New Zealand, 26-52 to the All Blacks. Now, I want to say, first of all, the Principality Stadium was absolutely buzzing. Even sat at home, you could see everyone was joined, singing the national anthem. You know, as an English person, you still felt there was a lot of pride amongst the Welsh fans and players. It's brilliant to see. It's just a shame it's just a shame some of the things that are happening within Welsh rugby now, but hopefully things can get better, when the rebuilding phase can, properly take form. But yeah, with the match, it was generally good. I know there's a lot of criticism surrounding Holly Davidson, the referee, but generally it was an entertaining match. It was a bit stop-starty. It was a bit stop-start, but, it wasn't bad. I mean, you had Tom Rogers. He went over for a hat-trick. Fantastic. That's one memory he'll treasure forever. Caleb Clark, an absolute beast on the wing. I mean, you give that man any type of space, he's just going to exploit it, and it's game over from there. He's been like that for quite a few years. He's that good. Now, here's where a few of my issues lie. I had an issue in terms of the line-out. So when the line-outs were being taken, you had Holly Davidson having to step in like so many times because players just weren't minding the gap. And I know she did warn a few of them about minding the gap, otherwise, free kick and so forth. But players just continue to take the liberties. Now, that did halt a lot of the momentum of the game, I felt like, because you just want the ball in play. When the scores are like that, you just want the ball in play. So now I move on to another little issue. So, and that disregards time. Now, I'm aware, there can be things that can be missed by referees. But when players are allowed to go on for 20, 30, 40 seconds, sometimes more or less, you're not going to get that time back when the ball's called back to where the error was made. And it happened yesterday. I think it was it Clark? I think it might have been Caleb Clark scored a try. It was disallowed because there was a knock-on on the floor, but that knock-on was caused by a Welsh player being cleaned out. Now, I don't think it was a penalty. I honestly think the ball was knocked on. Just, that's the way it is. You need to look after the ball. International rugby, what can you expect? Anyway, you move on, and then we got Will Jordan and his try. Now, in my opinion, he scores that. Holly Davidson gives a fair play. She's seen her on the ground, as she had said at the time. But then it was disallowed through this one angle. Now, one angle was shown the ball was up off the ground, from that one angle. But as we know, if you watch rugby league as well, I'm going to use rugby league as an example. Once the decision has been made, I know it happens in rugby union, but in rugby league especially, one angle does not constitute concrete evidence. You need multiple angles to disprove something, and if it can't be disproved, the original decision stays. Whether you like it or not, that's just the way it is. But yesterday, it was changed. Now, it did take quite a bit of time as well for that decision to be made, and I know they want to get every decision right. But at that point, in my opinion, the wrong decision was given after all that time spent off. Fair enough, it didn't change the outcome of the match, but that was an important score. And I don't know, it doesn't sit right with me, but either way, all the flack that the referees are getting online, they do not deserve it at all. At the end of the day, it's easy to make a decision when there's no pressure on people like us, sitting at home watching multiple replays and all that stuff. So all the flack people get, there's no need for it. But anyway, you move on. Like I said, there were really good highlights from that match. There was a few good parts from Lewis Rees-Zammit. It's good to see him return back and be in that Welsh jersey. I think playing at Bristol's really rubbed off on him well. Fantastic. I mean, you had the forwards as well, both sets of forwards. You had Lake doing fantastic, and then you had a few of the others doing great. But yeah, 52-26, and the story. You move on to Ireland now. Ireland, South Africa. And where do you start? In the first few minutes, it was very open. You had James Lowe doing well. I think him having the ability to kick and then chase, it's a real asset to Ireland. You did then have Willems to go over in the corner. You had then Feinberg and Ngumazulu. If my pronunciation's going awful. But when he goes in for a tackle, at that early stage, he tucks his arm in. Now, if you tuck your arm in and you're going in, it's reckless, it's dangerous. It needs to be called on. Now, there's a ref, a TMO, and lines people. How that is just not given as a yellow is beyond me. I mean, some people call for a red, but I think within a short time period, he had to adjust his body. I do think that brings it down a little bit. It goes to a yellow, fair play. But it just was a penalty. You had then tried this allowed for Ireland for Byrne because James Ryan went in recklessly and illegally and made contact with Malcolm Marks. Now, I don't think it was a yellow card. I think it was a straight red. I think there and then they had the opportunity to go, look, red card. And then I know it sounds silly, but then if that's given as a red card, then both teams have a clear idea of what the game will look like from there. Instead, you had yellow card referral. You then had minutes then to where teams are just adjusting to that period. But then obviously it was upgraded to a 20-minute red. And then teams adjust from there. But I honestly think it was just a straight red card. But hey, can't do nothing much about it. You had then Reinhardt go over. Fair play to him. You had some penalties getting hit. Fair play. But then from the 34th minute to the end of the half, you had 3 yellow cards for Ireland. Now, there's only so much a referee can do or put up with before he starts reaching into his pocket, and that's exactly what he did. Now, on multiple occasions, Ireland was slowing the ball down, and Ireland were being clever in their approach in terms of defence, and I think the referee had no choice to yellow card a few people. I do think as well, when he gave the penalty try, he could have given another yellow, but at that point, I think he just wanted to make it safely off the pitch. I don't blame him. Fair play. You move on to the second half. Now, this for me was, despite there wasn't that many points scored in the second half, I do feel Ireland put on an absolute performance in defence when they were back to 15. they really showed some heart, and that's what is giving a lot of Irish people pride, is the fact that despite them going down to 12, despite them being at home down against the world champs, they absolutely stuck it in defence. I mean, yet they did concede a try to Feinberg and Ngumzulu. You know, to be honest, it was a nice fend on Gibson Park. He ran on the inside of Pendergast. You know, he's not getting stopped from there. Fair play. But yeah, that defence, up until near enough the 70th minute, there was some other moments which was great, like the penalty getting scored by Pendergast brings them back all right into the game. That was before. That was quite nice. But then from the 70th minute onwards, I don't know, there was just some feeling that Ireland could pull something off. Like, if they get one try, even up to like the 77th minute, if they just scored, you felt they were always in with a shout, because the fans were absolutely bouncing. Like, you seen the players were all slapping each other, they were getting up for it, and it made you as a viewer at home just go, these can do it here. They can really pull it off. Unfortunately, there was some gamesmanship from South African players that might not have went too noticed. You know, like Colby, you know, a little few knock-ons, you know, also as well out wide. You know, I think there was a penalty given, ball got actually shipped out wide. And you know, Colby, when the play was blown up on, you know, kicked the ball away a little bit, you know, took a few more seconds. And Marnie Labok as well, who jumped up for an intercept. Now, even though he went up for it with two hands, I don't think he was in a realistic position to catch it. But the referee gave it as just a knock-on. Oh, you just don't know if that would have went out wide. I mean, like I just said, I don't think it was a genuine attempt. I think he just threw two hands out with it and just, that's it, hope for the best. But, you know, there you go. You know, the whistle was blown. There can be arguments on how the ruck was refereed, and were people off the feet, or, you know, what was happening here. I think there was one example within the first half where I think it was the toy went in for the jackal. He picked the ball up, but as he was picking the ball up, he dived over. Now, fair enough, he's won the ball, he's picked it up, but I thought for like a slight millisecond, he dived forward as he had his hands on the ball to then bring it in. But, you know, that's why the world champs, they do everything kind of well, and you've got to really be on your A game. I am quite disappointed they never had a match against England, because I feel those two teams, both on form, would have absolutely blown any stadium like crazy. But yeah, you know, 24-13, moving on to the next one. Now, France-Australia, 48-33 France. Both teams just going, do you know what? We don't really care too much about defence. Yeah, we just want our backline to perform, and, you know, a few forwards get over as well. Driving mauls were fantastic from both teams. Basically, both teams are momentum-based. I do feel there is a lot of pressure on Schmidt with Australia, because, you know, okay, you had a good rugby championships, like especially with the wins over South Africa and such. But this was disappointing. Even though they scored 33 points, you let in 48. You had Fezler scoring a brace. I mean, but let's just take a moment to appreciate Angus Bell. What a step. And then just going in right near the post. Fantastic. BLBRA. I mean, what a player he is. I mean, that try that he took when he was on the wing, he grabs it, he makes a little run, he chips it over the top, catches it before it bounces the ground, and then steps Tate Edmed, and he just leaves him for dead. He goes over, oh God, just some of the play that he did. I mean, even the first try, You know, he makes the break and then passes it inside. Was it to Deporte? Oh my God, what a player. Anyway, then move on to the vulnerabilities of both teams. Now, there were a lot of penalties, it felt like, at breakdown and also at line out. And I do feel both teams are weak at set pieces. I think that's where a lot of the points ended up getting scored from. There was a few tries being scored from rolling mauls. I think that needs to be looked into. But in terms of like backline, when you're sitting back and you're just relaxing at like 8:30 UK time, and you put on the telly, you know what, and you're watching that match, you're not really disappointed. I didn't think there was going to be that many points, but you know, fair play. I know I've said fair play about 10 million times, but hey, that's what you get when you're making the first video. Anyway, we move on to Italy and Chile. Now, I didn't actually watch the game full because I was actually watching France versus Australia. But I just wanted to mention Italy in a sense of like, they played well this series. They're really going to be a threat come the Six Nations, I feel. And they beat Chile 34-19. But when you've got an Italy team coming strong off beating like Australia, they had a good performance against South Africa. You know, the likes of Capuozzo, Ioane, Garbisi, and a few of the other boys really having mammoth matches. That's going to put them in good stead. I could see them picking up like 2 wins. I think if they can get like 2 wins in the Six Nations, it's a success. I think the match between them and Wales is really going to be, that's going to be a real, it's going to be a real good match. I do think as well they'll pose issues against France and Scotland. To be honest, I think they're going to pose problems against England and everyone else as well. But the way they're able to play, with the pace they've got in the backs and the ability of, like I said before, Capuozzo, Ioane and Garbisi, you know, doing well off the tee as well. You know, teams need to look out. Teams really need to be improving because the Six Nations going to be interesting. Each team in that Six Nations has like a vulnerability. But yeah, I look forward to Sunday's matches, which is today. I will also make a video on today's matches. That's obviously England, Argentina, and also Scotland as well. But yeah, thank you for watching. If you've got any thoughts or just anything you want to put, just put it in a comment or something like that. Just want to say, once again, thank you for watching the video. It is my first one, and things will get better from now on in. A few nerves making the video, but you know, hey, here we go. Start of the journey. See you later.